You may have felt it before you even understood it. A quiet shift, a subtle disconnection from the version of you that once felt solid. On March 28th, this energy reaches a turning point, and it is already moving through you. This is not random. The heaviness, the confusion, the strange sense that something inside you is ending. It is all connected. You are not breaking. You are outgrowing. And in the next 24 hours, something within you will begin to change in a way you cannot reverse. You may have felt it as a quiet restlessness that will not leave you alone. It shows up in the smallest moments, when you sit still but cannot fully relax, when your body feels present but your mind drifts somewhere distant, searching for something it cannot name. You may find yourself pacing without purpose, opening and closing the same thoughts, sensing that something is shifting beneath the surface of your life. In your daily world, this restlessness begins to interrupt what once felt normal. Conversations feel harder to stay inside. Tasks that used to hold your attention now feel strangely empty. You might start something and lose interest halfway through, not because you are distracted, but because something deeper in you is no longer connected to it. Even moments of silence feel louder than before, as if something inside you is trying to speak but has not yet found its voice. And you may question it. You may wonder why you cannot just settle, why you cannot return to the comfort of who you were. But this feeling is not random, and it is not a flaw within you. It is a signal, a quiet but undeniable message that your energy is shifting beyond the boundaries of your old identity. You are becoming more sensitive to what aligns with you and what does not. Your inner awareness is sharpening. What once felt acceptable now feels heavy. What once satisfied you now feels incomplete. This is not because you are losing something. It is because you are beginning to see more clearly. This restlessness is the first movement of your transformation. It is the moment your soul begins to pull away from what no longer reflects your truth. It is uncomfortable because it asks you to release familiarity. It is unsettling because it removes the illusion of stability. But it is also necessary because without this inner disturbance, you would remain where you have already outgrown. And this is where the coming energy of March 28th begins to reveal its influence. This is not just a shift happening outside of you, it is activating something within you. It is amplifying your awareness, heightening your sensitivity, and gently breaking your attachment to what is no longer meant for you. You are not becoming lost. You are becoming aware of where you no longer belong. The tension you feel is not here to harm you. It is here to move you. It is guiding you away from the version of your life that can no longer hold who you are becoming. Even if you do not yet know where you are going, you can feel that you cannot stay where you are. And that feeling is sacred, because the moment you can no longer remain comfortable in your old self is the exact moment your new self begins to awaken. There is a rising intensity in your emotions that feels deeper than anything you have known before. It is not just sadness or joy, but something more layered, more consuming, as if your inner world is expanding faster than you can contain it. Small things begin to touch you more deeply. A simple memory lingers longer. A quiet moment suddenly feels overwhelming. Even silence carries weight. In your daily life, this shows up in unexpected waves. You might feel completely calm one moment, and then without warning, something shifts inside you. Your chest tightens, your thoughts become more vivid, and emotions you thought were resolved begin to surface again. It can feel confusing, even exhausting, because nothing outside of you seems to explain what is happening within you. And part of you may resist it. You may try to push it down, as to distract yourself, to return to a state of emotional control that once felt safe. But this is not something that can be avoided, because it is not chaos. It is revelation. What you are feeling is the uncovering of emotional layers that have been quietly waiting beneath your awareness. Your sensitivity is increasing, not as a weakness, but as a form of awakening. You are becoming more connected to your truth, and that connection requires you to feel more, not less. The intensity is not here to overwhelm you. It is here to clear what has been held inside for too long. Old emotional patterns, unspoken thoughts, unresolved energies. They are rising now because you are finally ready to face them without losing yourself. This is what happens when your awareness expands. You begin to notice what you once ignored. You begin to feel what you once avoided. And while it may seem like too much, it is actually a sign that you are strong enough to hold it. The energy of March 28th is amplifying this process. It is not creating your emotions. It is illuminating them. It is bringing light into the places within you that have remained hidden, allowing you to see clearly what needs to be released and what is ready to transform. This is why everything feels more intense now. You are not regressing. You are processing. You are not losing control. You are gaining access to deeper parts of yourself that were never meant to stay buried. There is a quiet intelligence within this experience. Even in the moments when it feels overwhelming, something inside you knows exactly what is happening. Something within you is guiding this release, allowing each emotion to rise and pass in its own time. And if you allow yourself to feel it, without judgment, without resistance, you will begin to notice something shift. The weight begins to move. The intensity softens. The clarity begins to emerge. Because these emotions are not here to stay. They are here to pass through you, carrying away the parts of your old self that can no longer come with you. And what remains will be lighter, clearer, and more aligned than anything you have ever known before. A quiet distance begins to form between you and the world you once moved through so easily. It is not sudden, and it is not dramatic, but you feel it in subtle ways. Conversations feel harder to stay present in. Familiar places seem to lose their warmth. Even the people you once felt closest to now feel slightly out of reach, as if something invisible is standing between you and them. In your daily life, this can feel confusing. You might find yourself pulling back without fully understanding why. Messages remain unanswered a little longer. Invitations feel heavier than before. You may sit among others and still feel alone, not because you are disconnected from them, but because you are no longer connected to the version of yourself that once belonged in those spaces. And this can bring a quiet discomfort. A question begins to echo within you. Why does everything feel different when nothing has visibly changed? But this distance is not rejection. It is realignment. What you are experiencing is a natural separation between your evolving energy and environments that no longer reflect who you are becoming. Your awareness has shifted, and with that shift, your resonance has changed. The things that once matched your frequency are no longer able to hold you in the same way. This is not a failure of connection. It is the beginning of a more honest one. There is a part of you that recognizes this, even if it feels unfamiliar. You are no longer able to fully engage in what does not feel true. You cannot pretend in the same way. You cannot ignore what your inner voice is quietly revealing to you. The energy of March 28th is deepening this process. It is gently pulling you away from what feels forced, from what feels outdated, from what no longer supports your growth. It is not asking you to abandon everything, but it is asking you to notice where your presence no longer feels whole. This is why you feel the need to withdraw. It is not because you are losing connection with others. It is because you are strengthening your connection with yourself. And in this space of distance, something important begins to happen. You start to hear yourself more clearly. Without the constant noise of external expectations, your inner truth becomes louder. Your thoughts feel more precise. Your feelings become more honest. There is a quiet clarity forming within the silence you are stepping into. This phase may feel lonely at times, but it is not empty. It is full of transformation. It is creating space for new alignments, new connections, and a new way of being that is more authentic than anything you have experienced before. You are not being isolated. You are being refined. And the distance you feel now is not here to separate you from life. It is here to guide you back to yourself. Moments of sudden clarity begin to arrive without warning, as if something inside you is quietly turning on the lights. Thoughts that once felt tangled now separate into simple truths. Questions you carried for months, even years, suddenly feel answered without effort. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is precise, almost gentle yet impossible to ignore. In your daily life, this shows up in unexpected ways. You may be walking, sitting in silence, or doing something ordinary, and then a realization appears fully formed. You see a situation clearly for the first time. You understand someone's behavior without confusion. You recognize patterns in your own life that were always there, but never fully seen. There is a stillness that follows these moments, a kind of quiet knowing that does not need explanation. And at the same time, there can be a subtle shock, because once you see something clearly, you cannot return to how you saw it before. Part of you may hesitate. You may question whether these realizations are real, whether they are too sudden, too absolute. But this clarity is not random, and it is not imagined. It is the natural result of everything that has been unfolding within you. As your awareness expands and your emotional layers begin to clear, space is created for truth to surface. Your mind is no longer crowded by old noise, by outdated beliefs, by distractions that once kept you from seeing clearly. And in that space, insight begins to emerge naturally. This is what happens when you begin to align with your deeper awareness. You stop searching for answers, and answers begin to find you. The energy of March 28th is amplifying this clarity. It is not giving you new truths. It is revealing the ones that were always present, waiting for the right moment to be seen. It is sharpening your perception, allowing you to recognize what is real and what is no longer aligned with you. This is why everything feels more obvious now. You may notice that you can no longer justify certain situations. You can no longer ignore what feels wrong. You can no longer convince yourself to stay where your energy feels restricted. And while this clarity can feel empowering, it can also feel heavy because it brings responsibility. Once you see clearly, you are faced with a quiet decision: to continue as you were, or to begin honoring what you now know. There is no pressure in this moment, only awareness. You are not being forced to act. You are being invited to understand. And even if you are not ready to move yet, something within you has already shifted. The illusion has softened. The truth has made itself known. These moments of clarity are not here to overwhelm you. They are here to guide you. Because every truth you recognize now is gently leading you away from your old self and closer to who you are becoming. A quiet detachment begins to settle within you, and it feels different from anything you have known before. It is not sadness, and it is not indifference. It is a calm release, a gentle loosening of your grip on things that once felt essential to your identity. Thoughts that used to consume you no longer carry the same weight. Situations that once triggered strong reactions now pass through you with unexpected ease. In your daily life, this shows up as a subtle shift in how you respond. You notice yourself pausing instead of reacting. You observe instead of absorbing. There is space between you and your emotions, not because you are disconnected, but because you are no longer defined by them. Even your desires begin to feel lighter, as if you are no longer holding them with urgency, but simply allowing them to exist. This can feel unfamiliar at first. Part of you may wonder if you are losing your passion, your attachment, or even your sense of self. But what is actually happening is far deeper than loss. You are releasing identification with the version of yourself that needed those attachments to feel complete. This is not emptiness. This is freedom. The energy of March 28th is completing something within you. It is guiding you into a state where you no longer need to cling to what you once depended on. It is softening your attachment to outcomes, to roles, to expectations that were never truly yours. And in that release, something profound begins to emerge. A sense of quiet stability. Not the kind that comes from control, but the kind that comes from inner alignment. You begin to feel grounded without needing external confirmation. You begin to trust yourself without needing constant reassurance. There is a stillness forming within you that does not require anything to hold it in place. This is why the detachment feels so different. It is not pushing life away. It is allowing life to move without resistance. You are no longer trying to force things to stay. You are no longer trying to shape everything into what you think it should be. There is a softness in you now, a willingness to let things come and go without losing your center. And within that softness, there is strength. A deeper strength than anything you have experienced before. Because you are no longer holding yourself together through effort. You are becoming whole without effort. This is the moment where your old self begins to fade, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, natural unfolding. The identity you once carried so tightly is no longer needed. It served its purpose, and now it is being gently set down. There is nothing to fear in this release. You are not losing yourself. You are meeting yourself without the layers that once kept you hidden. And as this detachment deepens, you begin to understand something that could not be seen before. You were never meant to remain who you were. You were always meant to grow beyond it, and what is unfolding within you now is not an ending. It is the beginning of a self that no longer needs to hold on in order to exist.